Hello everybody, I'm Phil. This is Phil with Facts, and today we are making Bochet mead. Yes, so today we are making a Bochet, which is a cooked honey mead, and this one is called Phoenix. This is my recipe for Phoenix mead. It is awesome. So what it is it's a Bochet, it's mango, and it's raspberry. It's going to be an amazing amount of flavors, and I'm going to show you a couple techniques I haven't gone over yet. So stick with me, and let's have a good time. So, I've said it before, once you cook honey, once you take this and bring it to a boil and start to cook it, any properties that honey had are now gone. It's the same as any other honey you can buy. Also, once you start to cook honey, you create unfermentable sugars. So, if cooking honey is so bad, why are we going to do it? When you cook honey, you create a lot of caramel flavors, a lot of deep, rich flavors you wouldn't get from a normal honey. But if you can't ferment it, how are you going to use that? Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to make a standard mead recipe. We're going to use 2.5 pounds of regular wildflower honey, as delicious as it is. Then we're going to take 8 ounces of another honey, and we're going to cook that. We're going to add that cooked honey to our regular honey, giving us still 2.5 pounds of fermentable sugars, and then some nice caramel, rich, amazing flavors. But that's not all Phoenix is. Phoenix is going to have an extra step, but we're not going to see that until secondary. We are going to prepare for it today. So, follow along. So, what are you going to need today? We're going to, of course, need Star San, or any food-grade safe sanitizer, to soak all of our equipment in. Remember, if it's going into the final brew, you want it to be sanitized. It's just a safety thing. We're going to need honey. We're going to need yeast. We're going to need raisins, 1 ounce, because that's how big the box is. We're going to need 1 black tea bag today. We don't need any more than that. We're going to need frozen raspberries, 12 ounces. And frozen mango, again, 12 ounces. Can you use fresh? Of course. When you freeze fruit, though, just the process of it freezing and then defrosting, it creates all these holes in the actual product itself. So once we start cooking with it, it's going to release all those juices. It just makes an easier time. It's the only reason I'm going for frozen today instead of fresh. But if you have fresh, use fresh. It's going to be just as good. And with that, we're going to get going. So before we go any further, what we are going to do today, that I normally don't do, but today I have my reasons, is I'm going to take 1 cup of water. I'm going to add maybe 1 ounce of honey. And then we're going to add half a packet of yeast. Now, normally I hydrate my yeast, and today I'm really still just doing that. But what I want to do is wake the yeast up, give them a little bit more time than normal, and then give them a little bit of food so that they get used to eating honey. This is going to be a very high gravity product when we start it, which means I want to give this yeast the best chance it has of being able to eat and go through all that honey in the must to create a mead. Next thing we're going to do, raspberries in, mango in, and then fill it with water. we are going to turn this on, and we're going to let this go about 20 minutes. See you guys then. Okay, so it's been going for closer to 30 minutes now, and all I'm going to do is cut the heat, throw in my tea bag, and this is just going to steep for another 10, maybe 15 minutes or so. In the meantime, we're going to take a digital scale. Yes, I do own one. We're going to put on a pot, and then we're going to tare. Now, I'm doing this in ounces. But basically what I want to do is take my honey and weigh 8 ounces into the pot. Alright, what we're going to do next is we're going to put the honey onto heat, and we're not going to leave this alone. We are going to stir this until we get a nice, deep, dark, rich caramel color out of the honey. The second we get the color we want, we're going to throw in 2 cups of water. Unlike sugar, this is not going to just crystallize. It's actually going to stay very liquidous, help it cool down a little bit, and make it possible for us to get our cooked honey into our final vessel. Before we start cooking the honey, I want to give a few disclaimers before you try making a bochet at home, or before you try cooking honey at home. It works very similar to sugar, but also works very differently to sugar. You need to have at least 20 minutes that you could dedicate to that pot. So before you attempt it, make sure you be free for the next 20 minutes or so. It's not the type of thing you could just put on low and walk away from. It will burn, there are things that could happen, you want to avoid them. The second thing, you don't want to get it on your hands or your skin or anything like that. So if you're more comfortable wearing gloves while stirring, please wear gloves. The last thing you want to do is get this on your skin. It's going to burn. It's kind of like liquid napalm. You want to avoid that. The third thing, today I used local Busy Bees, New York, Staten Island honey. When I go out and buy small quantities of honey, I like to buy something local, something a little bit better. When it comes to making a bochet, you can use any honey you want because any characteristics of the honey are going to be gone. So if you want to use one of those little squeeze bears full of honey because it's only 8 ounces and it's cheap, please go ahead and do that. Do whatever your comfort level is. Now, once it starts boiling, you're just going to stir it, keep an eye on it, watch it as it gets darker. The second you start getting those really dark, rich caramel colors, and it really starts to smell like a burnt marshmallow, more or less, in your house, the honey's ready. Then you just add some water, stir it around a little bit, make sure you get all the bottoms up, and at that point, you're done. That will go right into your mead. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to throw our gravity off. We're still going to take a gravity reading. We're still going to use a hydrometer because I'm sure by now, if you're doing this, you have a hydrometer. It's never going to read accurate. But because we're doing it the way we're doing it, we know it's going to go dry. The yeast is going to eat all the sugar, all the honey inside the product. So essentially it would be dry, but it will never eat the cooked honey. So it's always going to have a little bit of sweetness. That's why we only did about 8 ounces. That's where I find the sweetness is really going to balance out. Besides, this also has some other stuff in secondary that make it Phoenix mead. Or should I say Phoenix Bochet. Name's not super critical, but the flavors you put into it, the quality you put into it is critical. If you do really cheap products the entire time, a little bit of good honey isn't really going to make much of a difference. If you use really cheap honey or a honey substitute or something that is a lesser quality, it's still not going to be a good mead at the end. And we're doing this because we want to make the best quality mead we can possibly make in our homes. So, that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. With that said, let's cook some honey. mango raspberry mixture has been cooling for about 15 minutes now. We're going to take our pitcher, we're going to take a strainer, and we're going to carefully and in case you haven't figured it out, this smells incredible at the moment. Okay, so now we have our mango raspberry mixture that's been completely strained. We have our raisins. We have our cooked honey. We have our non-cooked honey. We have water, sanitized carboy, funnel, digital scale. And now it's really just going to be assembling everything. So, now that everything is together, we only have a couple more steps we have to do. However, with that said, this is still on the warmer side. Gonna add a little bit more, just save enough room for the yeast. Yeah, that's about it. So, I'm just going to put the stopper on. I'm going to put an airlock in. My airlocks are filled with just sanitizer water, nothing fancy. You can use regular tap water, but if you have sanitizer already, why just give yourself that little extra bit of protection? We're going to let this cool for about another 10 minutes. I'll take a temperature just to be on the safe side, but really what you want is you want your must to be under 100 degrees and above 40 degrees. If it's over 110 degrees and I pour this into here, I'm pretty much killing all my yeast. And right now, I have some bubbles coming. I have a little bit of, they're starting to do something. Doesn't mean that they're alive, doesn't mean they're actively doing anything, but it just means that they're waking up and that there's some air in here. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with letting this sit for 10 minutes. So we're gonna let this sit, and then I'll pitch my yeast and I'll take my readings. So, remember at the beginning of the video when I said that this was a very special mead for more than one reason? Well, yes, this is a mango raspberry bochet, and yes, it has cooked honey in it already, and it's going to be delicious on its own. But the reason this is Phoenix, and what really brings this mead up to the next level, is we're going to take about 2 tablespoons of oak chips. We're going to take a couple ounces of really nice whiskey. Use something you would drink. We're going to pour it. And the entire time this is fermenting and turning into mead, these are going to be soaking away in whiskey. Now, the same day that we're going to put this into secondary, we are going to char these, and we're going to put these into the secondary vessel. So you're going to have a very fruity mead, you're going to have a very caramely rich mead, and you're going to have an earthy smoky mead, all in one. It's wonderful. With that said, this is now cool enough that I'm comfortable pitching the yeast, adding a little extra water, and taking our reading. Let's start with the yeast. Next, before that, give it one more shake. It doesn't hurt to get as much oxygen as possible into this before you start fermentation. You're not going to awaken any acetobacters before there's alcohol in here anyway. Now you notice the color. It's very dark. As it ferments, a lot of that is going to ferment out, and we're going to end up with this really nice ambery mead. And then all you do is you take your hydrometer, so this is ending at a 1.120. Remember, whenever you take a hydrometer reading, you want 4 digits. These are a little hard to read, so if you have any questions on how to read one, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to tell you. I'm going to put what that should come down to in the bottom. But remember, we have 8 ounces in here of unfermentable sugar. So even when it goes dry, it's still going to be sweet. So our reading's going to be a little false, and that's okay. The only thing left to do now, well, besides fill your airlock back up, the only thing left to do now is put on our airlock, label this, and I'll meet you guys back for the final facts. And here we are at the final facts. So today, we made our Phoenix Bochet. This is going to be an incredible mead at the end. It's going to have really wonderful mango flavor. It's going to have some really cool raspberry flavor. We're going to have that burnt honey, which is really just going to taste like caramel, nice and sweet. This will never go entirely dry, so there will always be some sweetness in this. Now, I normally say my recipes could be switched between honey and sugar. Can you switch this for sugar and make a wine? Absolutely. You just can't do the cooked honey part with sugar. Sugar will not cook the same way. You're going to end up with a different product, and you're probably going to end up with just clumps of sugar at the bottom of your brew, and it's not what you want to drink. Can you skip the oak part? Absolutely. I wouldn't. This is going to give some incredible flavor in secondary. We're going to try these up. They're going to have soaked in all that whiskey flavor, and they're just going to give a lot of whiskey notes, bourbon notes, earthy notes. That's the Phoenix part, if you ask me. That's why I named this brew Phoenix. Anyway, this is my Phoenix Bochet. I'm Phil. This is Phil with Facts. Please, if you enjoyed what you saw today and you want to see more like it, give me a like. Hit subscribe. If you want to share a recipe that you have, ask me a question about something I've done, or give me some good ideas, please leave a comment. I'd be more than happy to answer any comments you leave. But, with that said, I think this is a very worthwhile mead to make. If it's the first time you're ever making a mead, maybe don't start with this one. This is kind of a little above and beyond a normal mead. However, you saw in the video, not that many steps, not that complicated, and it probably could be a really good first mead if you have that kind of drive for it. But anyway, guys, this has been a lot of fun, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.